Hi, it's Faraz Rahal again. We're here at OIS at ASRS in Chicago, and I have Vince Anido with me. He's going to tell us a lot about two product lines for Aerie, and we know about the glaucoma product lines, at least the newest, Rocklatan. As I said to you before, it's of some interest to us in retina surgery as well. We unfortunately create a lot of glaucoma, at least temporary glaucoma, and how quickly efficacious a drug works matters a lot to us in the short term, more so than the glaucoma surgeons or glaucoma specialists. Could you tell us a little bit about your two glaucoma products?
Sure, I'd be happy to, and it's a pleasure to be here, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Oh, always great to see you. We're one of the few companies in all of ophthalmology that have had an opportunity to launch two products into the same market inside of 12 months. It was only about a year ago, May.
Unheard of, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And a year ago in May, we were able to launch Repressa, which is the first rho kinase inhibitor ever approved in the United States. And so we were able to build our own sales force and get that out into the marketplace very, very quickly. And then shortly after that, almost to the day, we launched Rocklatan. So May of this year, we were able to do that. And so it's really interesting to see sort of the dynamics in the marketplace with having two drugs in the same category, because it's really giving the doctors a lot of opportunity to mix and match and try to decide which patients are better for one drug versus the other one. And so for Repressa, being out in the marketplace, we've always positioned, and the doctors have, as adjunctive therapy. And so many cases, when a new drug comes out like that, the doctors will actually just use it as the last line because it's a brand new, they're not sure what to do. So they'll take a patient that is like, well, if I don't get this pressure down, I'm going to take them to surgery.
Isn't that interesting how physicians and clinicians, let's say, think about new products? Sorry to interrupt you, but
right.
Your point is valid. It's always like, oh, my usual stuff didn't work. Maybe I'll try this.
Yeah, I'm just going to.
Is that how you enter the market often?
Well,
it's not your goal.
That's not our goal.
Yeah.
We thought that for sure because we had shown great additivity to put our drug on top of a prostaglandin, and they're both once a day, they're both dosed at night, so it's a perfect match as opposed to some of the other drugs that are used in addition to prostaglandins that are all 2 to 3 times a day. So we thought that was the perfect place, but for some doctors they do that. But for a lot of doctors, they're just simply dumping it at the end, saying, I've run out of options, next stop is surgery, let me just give it a shot. And they're getting
like
good results.
Seems like a good first-line agent to me when you combine those two drugs.
I think it is. And so with Rocklatan, they're able to do that. And so we see an awful lot of support for both products. What's been surprising, and I've been visiting with doctors now for the last 2 or 3 weeks just to try to get an understanding of what's going on, is the influence of managed care. So because Repressa already has about 75% medical or Med D coverage, and it's typically in tier 2, which means copays are in the $20 to $40 range, that the doctors can write it, and most of the time it's going to get reimbursed appropriately for the patients. Rocklatan is new, and so they're sort of hesitant. They're having to do prior authorizations to get that. The copays on those prior auths aren't all that low. Sometimes they could be $150. Patient says, forget it, and then they come back, and the doc says, well, tell you what, I'm just going to put you back on the old prostaglandin, and then I'm just going to add Repressa because I know that's reimbursed. But we have great news. Just in the first week of July, we were able to get our first contract signed for Rocklatan in Medicare Part D, and we have about 28% of Medicare Part D lives covered already.
That's great, and it'll grow from there. And as a clinician and speaking for the patients, thank you for taking care to care about this aspect of prescribing medicine. It's often talked about, but sometimes in the busy life of trying to bring a drug to market, that can get lost in the shuffle. That's critical to actually managing the patient, because these are very expensive products. They're on 10 or 12 others, and thank you for considering that. We appreciate it.
It's our pleasure.
I want to switch gears a little bit, give you an opportunity, because I want to hear about it as a retina doctor. Can you tell us about your retina opportunities, your assets, or your products that you're developing?
Sure. So a number of years ago, as we were looking at Notarchidil, which is Repressa, and looking at that molecule, we started searching for other things that we can do with the drug. You know, we knew that rho kinase inhibition has broad applications. Kinase inhibition in general has broad applications. And so we were saying, so I wonder if we could use this for cornea, I wonder if we could use this for retina, et cetera, et cetera. So Repressa is designed almost like a prodrug. So as it goes through the cornea, it gets cleaved off. So we took the most active metabolite, which we called AR13503, and started doing some animal work on that. So we used the oxygen-induced retinopathy model and compared ourselves to Eylea. And we were able to show that that molecule actually was as effective in Eylea in decreasing the lesion size in the rats that we studied. We then actually did an adjunctive trial, taking our drug, putting it on top of Eylea, and we got Eylea to work about, it was 2/3 better in decreasing lesion sizes. And then to make sure we had the synergism, we knocked down the concentrations of both our drugs and Eylea to subtherapeutic levels, put both of those subtherapeutic doses back into the model, and we got results that were still better than Eylea by itself.
That's wonderful.
And so it was just, all of a sudden we started moving forward for that drug for retina. Now, one of the challenges that we face, it's a small molecule, so it's not like a protein where you can just inject it and on its own last forever, right?
Yeah.
Or at least a couple of months.
Sure.
These only last maybe for a few days, maybe for a week. So weekly injections are not what you all want to do.
No, I was going to ask you, what's the administration? So
It
are
is
you considering other administrations?
No,
or?
actually, this is what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do intravitreal.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do something that would last about 6 months. Because in talking to you and a bunch of other guys, they said, look, 6 months is about the perfect time frame for us to bring those patients back.
Yeah.
And so that's what we started to do. So we knocked on the door of all these drug delivery companies and really cool technologies out there. Thank God for the investors.
There's a lot of people in that space now and some brilliant stuff.
It is, and I think some of those are going to be great. In our case, we couldn't find one that would actually work with the molecules that we thought were best. So we started searching, and we found a small company that happened to be in the same building that we were in Durham.
Okay.
And it was called Envisia. It was a spin out from Liquidia.
Yep.
And so we knew those guys pretty well, and then we ended up being able to acquire them. And the reason we acquired them is because they had technology for manufacturing. Almost everybody that we talked to that had drug delivery programs didn't really have it nailed down on how are they going to go from benchtop manufacturing to full scale. And so we were able to acquire Envisia, which gave us that print technology that allows us to make these little tiny inserts that we can then jury rig to however long we want for it to last. We can increase or decrease the concentrations of it, etc. But we still had another problem to solve for, which is the normal polymer everybody uses, PLGA, interacts negatively with our molecules. So we cut a deal with a company called DSM out of the Netherlands, and we have access to this broad array of these polymers, so we can pick and choose whatever polymer we want, put our molecule into that mixture, and then using the print technology, make these tiny little inserts.
Complicated. This
It
took
has
a lot
been,
of work.
But amazingly, it's only over about a 2.5-year period.
Yeah, that is really amazing.
And so,
is this DSM, is their polymer, has it been used in the eye before? Is this
it's
new
been
to the
used,
eye space?
Not in eye. It's been used in other therapeutic areas.
Okay.
Like drug-eluting stents and stuff like that. So we knew it was pretty inert.
So you have a
perspective.
safety history
Yes.
on this product.
And so we were able to get that product, and now that is in the clinic now. We're doing basically a dose ranging study. We want to make sure, first of all, that we have the right concentration. That we insert 1 or 2 of these baby inserts into the eye. We want to make sure that it also lasts for 6 months. But what was interesting, when we made the acquisition, on their own, Envisia was also working on the same concept using dexamethasone and trying to get it to last for 6 months.
I recall.
And so we ended up moving that into the clinic as well. So while there's a lot of other steroids out there, you've got Ozurdex that is a couple of months, maybe has efficacy for a couple of months. You've got at the other end Illuvian and others that are 3 years. Ours, again, targeting for 6 months. We formulated the burst of steroid out of our insert so that you don't get an immediate burst, you don't get a burst at the end of life. So it's just a steady elution of drug.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping that not only does it last 6 months, but as a result of being able to provide small amounts of drug over a sustained period of time, that we'll also get rid of some of the adverse events.
It sounds like a great idea and a great plan, and there's always need in our space anyway for steroids that can last a long time safely, that's going to have a lot of utility. I congratulate you for looking at all these different areas. I could ask you 1,000,001 questions, but I have one particular one in mind before we run out of time. Since you're getting into these longer acting products, have you considered your glaucoma drug for one of these longer acting kind of products for glaucoma, anterior segment injection or something like that?
We have, and one of the challenges that we face with all glaucoma medications when we actually put them in the front part of the eye is that very few of the delivery systems have actually worked as well as an eye drop. Yeah. It seems like putting the eye drop on the surface of the eye in this huge concentration, then it goes through the corneal, the enzymes eat up whatever it is that they're going to eat up, but enough of it gets through to get the activity.
And we know the safety.
Exactly.
Been around forever.
With the other ones, we think that that's a challenge. I mean, we've seen even with some of the, there is an intracameral injection out there.
Yes.
There was a study that, it doesn't work as well of a prostaglandin. It doesn't work as well as the eye drop version of the prostaglandin. And so that worries me. So, we're looking, for example, I have a whole bunch of medicinal chemists in our company, and they've been looking at jury-rigging a Rho kinase molecule to see if we can add like a prostaglandin moiety to it to see whether we can get the best of both worlds, but in one molecular structure that then we can do and put that in there. And so those are the kinds of things that we can do because we own the technology.
Now you have the technology. That's a great way to marry the systems together. Good for you. One final thing. You come to this meeting regularly, I know. What is this OIS meeting, whether it be ASRS or AAO, et cetera, what does it do for you? How do you view the meeting for you and your company?
For us, we're still pretty active in all these spaces. And as Casey Kopczynski, our founder, presented today, we talked a little bit about our pipeline that is not only for glaucoma, retina, but some other areas within ophthalmology. And so when I come to these, and whether it's this one or AAO or ASRS, it's one where in one day I get a picture of what's happening throughout ophthalmology in terms of other companies. Yeah. And so there's no better way for us to really understand what's happening in the field, to get to see not only old friends but make some new ones. I particularly like it when you guys bring in the folks from the FDA. We have a really good relationship on the drug side with Dr. Wiley Chambers, and so it's always great to see him in this kind of setting because he helps educate everybody. And so it's not a meeting that I miss very often.
I know, I see you regularly. Thanks a lot, Vince, for spending the few minutes with us. Continued success. That's really great stuff you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.